What's up, bestie?
You're listening to the Coffee with Your Besties podcast. We are your host, Alexis.
And I'm Nicole. Welcome to the show, friend.
We drop new episodes every Tuesday sharing our advice, experiences, and what it's like to be a solo entrepreneur.
Are you looking for your new besties who just get it? Well, here we are. We are ready to share so many fun things with you and bring on exciting guests along the way.
If you like what you hear, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. Grab your coffee, grab your bestie, and let's dive right in. What's up, besties? Welcome back to the podcast.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Okay, today we are talking all about friendships, how to navigate them, how to make friends, maybe if you're moving to a new city, and also when it might be time to cut a toxic person out, maybe set some boundaries. It's the hard truth, but it's good to talk about it.
I feel like friendship breakups are so awkward and hard to navigate sometimes, but honestly, like, you know, like I like to say, in the era of the Barbie movie and the Eras Tour, we have to protect our peace. And it's really girls supporting girls always. Like, I don't know. We'll get into all of that in a bit because that'll probably be, you know, towards the end of the episode. But first, we're going to start out by, like, being a good friend. How can you show up for your friends and just, you know, make sure that, like, they feel supported and they feel heard and all the things how do you show up for people, I guess.
Yeah. So we wrote some things down about how to be a good friend. Obviously, like, no one's perfect. This is just things that, like, I think really make your friend feel special and loved. And I just feel like when you're caring for the other person, like, it makes a friendship, like, so much better.
I agree. Yeah.
But the first thing we wrote down is checking up on your friend. Ask about how their day was, how they're doing. We go through a lot in life. And so sometimes just asking someone a simple question, maybe like they've been wanting to vent to you about something or come to you and talk to you, ask for advice. Just trying to be that friend who listens and also gives good advice, I think is just helpful.
And I think too, like, always asking, like, are you, like, venting so that I can help you find a solution, or are you just venting because you just need to get it off your chest?
Yeah.
I think just, like, having more candid and real conversations with people, that's how you, like, deepen friendships. Yeah. So just, like, showing up in ways that you can with, like, listening and all the things. I think a big thing is communication. Oh, yeah. I think it's so easy in this generation to just blame things on, like, oh, I got busy, or, like, I saw it and forgot to respond. And, like, it happens to all of us, like, myself included. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, it doesn't happen, but you know, it's just like
you're like, I responded in my head to this text.
I know.
Like, I feel like I do that
also
sometimes.
Just like a big believer in, like, if you wanted to, you would. And so sometimes, like, it's okay if you're not there mentally to, like, show up for someone else. Like, we all have our own stuff going on, and so definitely take care of yourself too. But I think literally communicating, like, hey, I saw that, I'm gonna get to it, like, give me a day or whatever. Like, just communicating with your friends. I think a lot of friendships in my experience have gone, like, we aren't as close anymore just because of communication. Like, if there's no effort being put in on one side or the other, then it's like, okay, well, like, why am I doing this? You know, like, it has to be give and take, you know? So
I have felt like that a lot in my life when I've maybe only been the one to put the effort in. It really takes two people, even with, you know, whoever you're dating, married to, it takes two.
Absolutely.
Friendships, it takes two. Like, if you feel like you're the one putting all the work in, then sometimes you got to reevaluate your friendship and be like, okay, do they even want to be friends with me? Do they care? You know,
like, and what tier? Like, are they like sisterhood best friend, or are they just like a casual, we go out, we hang out friend? Because I think it's important to have different groups for different people, right? Like, not every girl that you meet or every friend you have is going to be like your best freaking friend. Like, some people are just like a good time to hang out with, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think just like finding people that fit the boxes that you have, you know, like
sometimes like certain friends, like, you can go to this friend you have in mind that gives good advice. You can go to this friend, they're a good listener. Like, sometimes you can just have different, like, friends for different things, you know? Sometimes people are just a good time and you're like, hey,
I know, exactly. Do you want to go out? Do you want to take a trip?
Go to dinner, go on a trip.
No, I think that's really, like, what it is. It's like you just find different people for different parts of your life.
I feel like you're a friend though that, like, you're everything all
Tell
in
me
one.
about it.
So it's kind of funny because I'm like thinking of all these people and I'm like, you qualify for all of it.
No, but you do too. I feel like it's fun to have like someone like ourselves or whatever, like in a friendship where it's like you can go to them for advice and things and you do feel comfortable venting, but then you also know like when you're like ready to have a good time and let loose, like they're there, you know?
It's nice.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, being a good friend. So check up on them, ask them things, obviously, like always, you know, always asking the questions. It sounds like duh, but I think it's so easy to forget. Like we get so wrapped up in our own world and like what's happening, we forget that like sometimes your friend just needs a quick like love tap of being like, hey, I'm here if anything's going on. Just, you know.
And if there's moments where like you don't want to talk about a certain situation, maybe you can just, you know, tell them and get back to it later. And but of course, like as friends, they want to know like how you're doing truly, not just like a surface level conversation, like dig deep. It's nice with friendships.
I agree. And I think like getting into your love languages, I think we feel like we can only apply that to relationships, like a couple, but you can totally apply that to a friendship. Like I feel like you're really into gift giving. Like I feel like you're always really thoughtful with that kind of stuff. And it just doesn't always come as easy to me, but I do love like quality time. Like I like being there. And so I feel like show up for your people in a way that like you want to show up as. Like if you're the friend that loves planning things and loves taking the initiative, like you can do that with your friends. Like it doesn't have to just apply to your relationship. So like, you know,
well, and there's acts of service. Maybe like you can help out a friend and that really means a lot to them. Maybe they like receiving gifts. Maybe they like giving gifts. I feel like I've always like have always thought like I myself was a good gift giver, but I love that you said that
I do think you are.
It depends. Like when I really know the type of friend, like I feel like it's easier because I'm like, oh, I saw this and like thought of you, you know? So
no, I think it's really sweet, but you can like, there's just so many ways. And I think like, if you feel like your friend like needs some like one-on-one time or whatever, literally plan a little girls' night. I feel like it goes so far to just be like I have a date planned for us almost. Like, you know?
I like it. Have a spa day.
Exactly. I just feel like sometimes we feel like we don't have to put that much effort in, but like, you know, if they're your good friend and like you feel like there's something there, like you're drifting almost, you have to work on it, just like a relationship. Like
just plan something fun, even if it's just dinner, maybe it's shopping, running errands, just something little.
Literally
to like
love going
bond.
just to Target. Like let's go to Target. Let's walk around.
I always spend way too much money.
I know. I can't take my wallet there, you know, but it's really fun. So anyway, also like being a good friend is like you said, praying for your friends. Like I love that. I think, you know, it's just keeping people top of mind and realizing that like, you know, we're all going through our own different struggles.
Yeah, we are. And I feel like
power in prayer.
Oh yeah. Power in prayer and just like believing like if your friend is struggling with something, like believing that they're going to get through it and like being there for them. I'm like stumbling over my words, but I just feel like it's so nice when you hear like, oh, I prayed for you or, you know, it's just,
no, it
being
is
a good friend.
Yeah. And like, I had a friend like, well, acquaintance. I don't know that we were like ever like super, super close, but I knew her and she invited me to church when I first moved here and I had like hadn't found a church yet. And I was like, that was so special to feel like bonding over your beliefs and stuff is so huge. Like, and the only way you get there is like by having those conversations. Like it's not prying if they're your friend being like, you know, what are your beliefs on certain things? Like I feel like it's important to know. So anyway,
I think so too. Yeah. Also, a big thing is just being a really good communicator. If there's something maybe you're hurt by, maybe there was a tough conversation, just being like a good communicator with your friend is so important.
So huge because you can easily sit on those things and they will like just keep biting at you and you're just like, oh, you know, I'm so frustrated. And this person probably has no freaking idea that you're upset because you haven't said anything. And I'm the
they're
biggest,
gonna be like, what's wrong?
I do this all the time, especially in like my relationship. Sorry, Isaac. But I'm just like, I would rather just swallow it and just be like, it's fine. But it isn't like, you know, so just have the conversations for sure. Sure. Communicating's huge.
Having it before it's like boiling over and then you're like, no longer friends, just having that simple conversation, because sometimes you can be surprised if your friend's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Like just being a good listener. If you're on the other side of things where your friend is coming to you about a tough situation that they were hurt by, just like listening to them and hearing them out is like so important.
Well, and like realizing it took a lot for them to come to you mentally. Like,
because most people aren't good at confrontation. Like they're like, I know more people than not just want to sweep it under the rug. Yep. You know,
me too. So. Which is funny. We probably attract those types of people. Maybe. We probably don't attract the super like head
because
on.
They scare me.
I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
It depends on the situation. Like if I'm like so done with something and feel like disrespected, then I'm like, hey.
No, you can be for sure. Which I appreciate though. I think it's important that you stand up for yourself. Like getting into setting boundaries and like all of that stuff. Like it is important that you like keep your peace. I don't know, just in anything. And you feel like if you walk away from a friendship feeling like this just isn't it anymore, like you feel like all the negative things, it's time like to just probably cut that person out of your life, as hard as that is. But flipping it back really quick, going to how can you support a friend who maybe is a business owner? Since we know a lot of you guys are in the wedding industry or maybe like have a small business, I know sometimes it's hard when our friends aren't supporting us virtually. So we struggle with this a lot with like people like family and whatever, and it's just like sometimes it can feel like I thought we were friends, you know? Like it's as simple as like sharing a post, commenting, liking. Like it's literally that simple. So if you have a friend who's in the service industry and you're like, I don't know how to support them in that, here's some tips.
Even if you don't have money to buy maybe one of their products, or like we're photographers, so maybe you don't have like
a constant need for photos.
Yes, exactly. You know, what's free is liking, commenting, sharing,
telling your friends
and family, because sometimes like your other friend or maybe a family member needs photos taken. Maybe you have a clothing brand and you know, maybe someone needs a new sweatshirt, and you're like, hey, my friend has this awesome clothing brand. So I think it's just awesome because, you know, just talking about it is free.
It is. And like we can show up for ginormous corporations like Skims so easy. We can talk about how much we love it, and we'll post about it, and I can't wait to buy it. And it's like, imagine if you showed up for your friends that way.
Exactly. It's true. Wow. I feel like a lot of people don't.
No, they don't. And it's like I think we forget, and it's maybe hard to like put ourselves in that position, but like we're not all little Kim Kardashians running around making millions. Like this is how we pay our bills.
Small businesses need your help the most.
Exactly. So I'm like, so just imagine if you could show up for your friend that way in the ways that you show up for like your favorite brands. You know,
a repost, a like, a comment is so easy.
It's so easy. And I know you're probably thinking like they don't care. I bet you do. I bet they care.
Do.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to do it for
every
post.
Single time. No.
Because I'm like, we post a lot.
Yeah, we do. But even just like if they post something on their stories that's interactive where they're asking a question or like need advice, like if you think you can, like even a tiny bit respond to that, like maybe you're like, I don't know, like I'd be like, hey, I don't know, but here's my advice. It just helps. Like it helps with engagement, and it also helps make them feel like someone's actually paying attention to what they're posting. So I think sometimes, at least for me, I can get in my head where I'm like, no one's even reading this, like no one cares. And so then when I finally get someone who's like da da da, I'm like, oh cool, people care.
I feel like sometimes like I'll get the most comments and like reshares from people that I don't even know online.
I know.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I know you wish like your friends and family would do it. But I know everyone has busy lives, but it's just like showing up for them, and just referrals go a long way too.
Literally word of mouth is huge. And like you just never know when someone in your inner circle that maybe your friend isn't friends with has something going on that they do need. Like, you know, maybe like, they own a spa or like whatever. Exactly.
Like I have a photographer friend.
So, you know, just
plug
your friends like wherever you can.
Like hint, shout out us. Just kidding. But we love our besties.
We do, yeah. And these are just helpful tips that like maybe you're going through something, like maybe you're on the end of it where you're like, oh, my friend's just like not really supporting me in that way. Like how can I like move forward? How can I like resolve that?
Well, and maybe if they're not aware of, you know, your friend might not know like that you want your post reshared. So it's also going back to being a good communicator. Talk with your friend.
Literally
be like,
tell them,
hey, put all of them in a group chat. Be like, hey, can you support our
we
new
have friends who do that
episode?
We've done it, and like we have friends who be like, hey, I like have this brand deal, I need like more engagement on this post. Can you go do like engage with it? And I'm like, absolutely, it takes me 30 seconds. So like literally just sometimes you have to tell
communicating.
People they don't know. Like they really don't know, and they don't think it matters. So if you're like, hey, like if you don't mind every once in a while just like commenting or whatever it is for you.
It's so simple.
It
so
is.
easy.
So let's get into the harder stuff. Like when you think you're on the verge of like a friendship breakup. Like
this is rough.
It is rough.
When people say people say it's harder than like a boyfriend,
it is
significant other breakup. It is.
You kind of like expect that boyfriends are like not always gonna work out almost.
That's what my dad would say. He's like, oh, another crash and burn for Nicole. I'm like,
stop.
I'll get married someday.
No, stop.
Just kidding. I'm in a happy relationship.
I just think like we're used to dealing with that pain of like a
Exactly. So mean. No. Because I have a great guy and I'm like, men. It's just past men.
It is past men. And I can, I'm
no
like,
good.
I'm good at relating to other people's situations. I feel like I can put myself in their shoes. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, you've had crappy one ex. Oh.
I've had crappy
I should stop calling people out.
No, I've had exes, obviously. I dated people before Isaac.
Well, I know that. I thought there was just a one.
There was one serious one before Isaac, but I dated a bunch of other people before that guy. You know, I feel like I can relate to people's situations and like you just like with my own experiences and hearing people, I'm just like an empath. I want to make you feel better. So yeah. Anyway, toxic friends. We don't love them, but we know them. Or maybe we do love them, and that's the fucking hard part, is you're like, ooh. We're obviously delaying this because it's awkward to talk about, and it's hard to talk about. And I think we don't want, I never want anyone to feel like disrespected or like obviously anything like that, because that's just not who I am at my core. And I feel like I try to do a really good job at showing up authentically, and like when things do bug me, I do feel like I try to be like, hey, this, but then also I know I'm really bad at just sweeping things under the rug because I just am a peacekeeper. I'm like, I don't want any problems.
No, it is hard.
It is hard.
But I feel like there's just sometimes hard relationships, friendships that, you know, they can be really good at the start, but you kind of find out later that, is this person supporting me? You know, are they showing up for me? If you feel like they're maybe trying to compete with you, they feel like, you know, some type of jealousy towards you, you can always tell that right away.
And like trust your gut, because there's always a reason. And like I try to remind myself, and I really am like a big believer, like people are in your life for a season. You don't get to know how long you have them around. Sometimes it's years and years and years, and sometimes it's just a couple of months. But like there's always something to learn from each friendship and each person that passes through your life. And so I think it's just important to take away, like, not everyone's meant to stick around for the long haul. Like you go through seasons of growth where you're like, people are like on the same level as you, and then sometimes you pass them or sometimes they pass you, and that's okay. Not everyone's meant to like be around forever, I think, you know, like in your life, in that closeness. You have to think back to like high school friends. Like I'm fortunate enough that I'm still best friends with the girl I was best friends with back then, but we've also really, really focused on our friendship. And even after me moving states away, like we have just made that a priority, and it's just, that doesn't always happen. Right. So that's okay. But if you feel like you're at a place with like a friend or something, and you're just like, this is no longer like a person I want to be around, but you can tell that like it's, the tension's building, like something has to be done. Like my biggest advice with handling that is like just going straight to them and being like, hey, what's going on? I can tell like we're not on the same page we used to be on. It's awkward and nobody loves confrontation, but I've also had the flip side of that where like I've just been ghosted and cut out of people's lives. And that's really hard because you're just left wondering like, what did I do? Like what happened? And you just don't get to know. And it's like, that's their decision, and you have to, you know, like let them do their thing. But if you're on that end where you're like at a place where you're like, I don't know what to do, that's my advice, is like, just be an adult, go to them.
Definitely communicate about it. It's the hardest conversation, but it's either gonna go two ways. It can go really well, you'll understand each other, where you're coming from. Maybe your friend is hurt by something else, and so you're not getting what you thought you were gonna have through a friendship. And the other way, it could go kind of bad and they don't understand you, and maybe that's just a point where like, okay,
you just
maybe
split
we
ways.
Just you know, need to split ways. You know, maybe this friendship wasn't meant to be, maybe it was only meant for a season. And just talking about it, having that honest conversation. And like for you and your best friend, you've been friends for forever. Like it took you guys so much work, and that's like two people, you know, making it work.
Both of us. Exactly.
Because you had, you know, maybe tough conversations, you moved away, so you guys weren't like always hanging out 24/7, and so,
or even talking all the time. Like there would go like weeks where we weren't like communicating. Like she works a lot, I work a lot, like we weren't texting all the time, and it was hard because I was like, gosh, this is someone I'm used to having right by me all the time.
It's hard.
Like that was really difficult. But then I like came to her and I was like, hey, like let's schedule weekly calls. Like I need one day a week where I can just like talk to you for 2 hours, catch up what's happening, and then I feel good. I'm like, okay, like I know what's going on. Because the worst thing is feeling distant. Like you feel like you don't really know what's happening in that person's world anymore. That's like the worst feeling, is when you're just like, oh shoot, we used to be like this and we're not anymore.
Well, it's like hard. We have our phones with us literally 24/7.
If you say you didn't see something, we know you saw it. What you mean is that like you responded in your head maybe, but like we know you saw it. We all see everything.
Well, and like being a good friend, like that was you being a good friend. You picked up the phone, you called, you set aside time for your friend. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 30 minutes. could be, you know, faster than
literally
that.
Like she'll be getting ready for work and I'll be doing like, I'll be working because obviously with that doing photography, I'm home a lot. So I'll be like editing, but like it's the concept of like we're putting in the effort. Like it's on both ends.
It's so important.
But yeah, I mean, but like let's say things were different and she wasn't putting in on the effort and I was calling all the time and my phone was going to voicemail and like she just wasn't there on the receiving end of it. I think at that point for me, I would just be like, hey, I understand you're busy. I understand things are happening in your world that I may not understand. And like, I may not know exactly what you're going through, but for me, it's really important that like we talk once a month, once a fucking year sometimes, like whatever the friendship is. Like it's important that I know you and like have that. And so, you know, like, hey, if you have time and if you still aren't getting responses, like you gotta just cut that off and walk away, as hard as it is. There's obviously something there going on and it's not your job to like constantly be putting in like all of the effort and being like, okay, well maybe they're just really, really going through something. Like for 6 months, I have to like really, really just like forgive. At some point it's toxic and at some point it's like no, like that's not healthy.
Well, and that kind of is where we get into like setting boundaries. I've heard so many times like the people in the past that I've set boundaries with, they just called me a mean girl. They were like, you're mean, you're rude. And it's like, no, I feel disrespected by you, so I have to set some type of boundary because it's like you still care for that person,
of course,
but you need to just kind of distance yourself because it's like your mental health is so important. And if you feel like this person is jealous, maybe disrespecting you, multiple things adding
walking
up,
all over you.
It's not worth your time and your energy. And sometimes you just need to create some distance and boundaries. And if they're not okay with that, then that's your sign that you just need to split ways.
And if they don't understand, it's okay. It's not meant for them to understand then, because you still like should absolutely have boundaries with every relationship, with your parents, like with everyone. If you feel like, disrespected, getting walked on, like you just don't feel like it's healthy, then you trust your gut, you know, and just be like, this isn't it. Especially like there's energy takers and there's energy givers. Like I've always told Nicole, when I leave hanging out with her, I always feel like so much better than I did before I hung out with you. No, it's true. And there's other people like that where I'm just like, God, I just like I'm attracted to their energy. Like I love that. Exactly. And then there's people I hang out with where I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm glad to be home, you know, like my mom. No, I'm just kidding. But really, sometimes I'm just like, okay. So you just have to like make sure you're taking mental tabs of that and being like, you know, are you in a place where you're able to give up a lot of energy and it's okay, like you're fine with that? Or are you at a place mentally where you're like, I am barely hanging on, like I can't be like, I need to hang out with people that make me feel better and like are not like work, right? Because sometimes it's just like that.
Your friend should be leaving you feeling inspired, motivated, energized. Like you shouldn't be leaving them dull and like anxious in any way. Like I've had that in the past and you can tell the feeling right away. And like your friend should be uplifting you to the max.
And you should never feel like you have to make yourself smaller to be around that person. Like to fit in their box that they want you to be in. Like you should be able to show up as yourself every single time, every day, no matter the situation, without it feeling like, are they going to like me today? Or like, are they going to accept that? Because I've had that friend before where I just felt like I had to constantly be smaller. And fuck if that's not the most exhausting job, to be like, okay, like I can do it, you know?
Yeah, you shouldn't like
chameleon. Like you should just be
be yourself, be your truest self, because if you can't, then like why are you in that friendship in the first place?
And you're gonna find your best friends by doing that. Like by being who you are, you're gonna find those people that go the long haul with you. You just, because they're gonna be attracted to that and they're gonna be like, oh my God, yay, like someone that we can just like be ourselves, you know? So it's just, you know,
it's really about having those honest conversations
and
those hard conversations,
just being you.
It's like, you know, if something isn't working out in your friendship, talk about it. If you feel like they, you know, have jealousy towards you, you're in a competition with them, it's, you know, maybe you feel this type of jealousy towards a friend, maybe you're on the other side of things. Maybe you need to get down to your roots and kind of just be like, hey, why am I jealous of this person? You know, maybe you just need to do a little like self note of like, hey, what do I need to change about myself? That like, because you kind of need to be comfortable and like secure with yourself. It's like that saying, like you need to love yourself fully before you love someone else, before you get in a new relationship. And so I feel like that goes great with friendships too. Like you need to love yourself. Yeah, we're not perfect. Like I have insecurities. We all do.
Absolutely.
But it's like also having those uncomfortable conversations
Yeah.
And being like, hey, I feel a little insecure today. Like, this is where my head's at.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like if there's certain topics that set you off, like for some reason when they talk about their boyfriend, you're just like, oh my God, like maybe you recently have your heart broken and you're just like, I'm so happy you're happy. But like, dude, if I hear that you're happy one more time, I can't take it. It's okay. Like, you're entitled to all of your feelings and emotions. We're your therapist for the day. But I do think, you have to take a mental note of like, why are you feeling jealous or competitive or like whatever? Because it's probably a you thing, not a them thing. 9 times out of 10, I feel like it's our own insecurities that we're projecting. And like, they're probably oblivious to it because that's just natural. I feel like you're not always like, we're not in your head, right?
Yeah.
I can know as much as you tell me, but if you're not telling me, I can't know that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And we're all going through different seasons of life. Like, some of us are having babies, some of us are married, some of us are single. And we all are on different pages of life. And so it's like showing up for your friends. They're getting married. You should be happy for them.
Absolutely.
Not jealous for them.
No.
Jealous of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you just need to recheck yourself and just be like, hey, why am I feeling this way? Like, what's going on?
Because, like, I think, excuse me, I think I've been there when before I was engaged, all of my friends were getting engaged, I swear. And I was just like, okay, I'm so jealous. Like, I want that so bad. But it was a me thing. I was just like, no, it's because you want.
Well, you admitted it and you were like vulnerable about it.
I was. But I was like also equally happy for them, obviously. But I was like going to their weddings like,
you're like, I want that to be
my
me.
turn.
Yeah.
So I think that's natural. And I think especially with women, it's like that. There's that competitive whatever for some freaking reason. It's society, I swear. They've freaking pitted us against each other. But we're breaking it. We're breaking all of those nasty generational things. And we're starting afresh. And we're girls supporting girls always. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not going to have problems with other girls. And you're not going to have issues. And there's not going to be things. That's just life. But it's with your friends. Like, you're not talking crap about them. And you're not, you know, like doing the things we did in high school. Like, eventually we have to grow up.
Yes.
That's the tough truth. You gotta look in the mirror and be like, yeah, you're being a little childish right now. Like, maybe take a step back.
Yeah.
Let's try therapy. I don't know.
If there's a conversation you're having behind someone's back, you just have to.
Eventually, you need to talk to them about it.
Yes.
Like, if it's bugging you,
if there's a problem.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But, you know, anyway. So let's get into a little bit of a lighter topic, making new friends. I feel like that's so hard as an adult for some freaking reason.
It can be.
We put a lot of pressure on just like, are they gonna like me? Yes. I don't know. Like, we make it so awkward.
If I say this, like, you know, are they gonna like me? Are they not? But you did something huge. You moved to a new city. So kind of tell them like what you kind of did to make new friends in a new city.
So I first made friends with my coworkers. When I first moved to Idaho, I got a job at Massage Envy and I made friends with the girls that worked the front desk with me. And it was easy because obviously we worked together. So was it friendships out of convenience a little bit, but also like it helped me because I was like, I know no one here. Like, other than my family, I knew nobody. And so I was like, okay, it's nice to make friends. And so literally it was just like, hey, do you want to grab dinner after work? Like, or hey, do you want to go grab lunch on our lunch break? Like, putting the feelers out there. And then you just obviously naturally start having conversations and you realize like, I have a lot in common with this person. You're like, no, I don't really have anything. We're just work friends and that's fine. So I think if you are lucky enough to work in a job that you do have coworkers, I think it's honestly just like talking to them and, you know, putting the feelers out there. And then too, like, Instagram is huge. TikTok is huge. Like, if there's people you follow in the area that you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like me and this girl would like just get along so well. You just have to DM them. You really just have to put it out there. Also, like, if you feel awkward about just like immediately going into their DMs, like you're like, they don't even know who I am. Just start commenting on their posts and liking their posts and like engaging and
kind
stuff.
of get to know them.
Like, literally get to know them digitally, like you're dating online. Seriously. And then I think like eventually just be like, hey, do you want to grab coffee? You want to grab lunch? You want to grab beer? Whatever your vibe is. And then just go have a chat, you know, like it's literally that. I'd say it's that easy. It's uncomfortable because we don't want to come across as like, are we
too
weird?
Forward
I was like, I don't want to be a weirdo. Like, she's just like, no, I have no interest in getting you. But that's how Nicole and I met. Like, we met through work a little bit, but then really we became friends because I was just like, we were like, let's just do it. Like, you know, you never know until you try.
Plan a trip right away.
Literally, we were weirdos, but it's fine because we were both weirdos.
We were crackheads. It's fine. No, but I feel like starting with people that like maybe you have similar jobs as too. Like, you can totally relate to each other already. So if you're a photographer and you've been wanting to meet this really cool photographer,
invite them to edit. Yeah. Just be like, hey, do you want to do like an editing day? Exactly. Yeah. Or if you're like a mom and you feel like your kids are at like, you go to soccer or something and you're like, oh my God, they just seem like I love their kid. And like this, literally it's just like, hey, we should go out sometime. It's awkward and it's uncomfortable, but that's really like it. I feel like that's my biggest advice.
And you never know if they're already thinking the same thing as you. Maybe they're a little bit more shy, but they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, oh, that girl's really cool. I've been dying to go to coffee with her.
No, literally. I have a friend who's like, she's like, oh my God, my hairdresser is just like so cool. Like, I feel like we'd be such good friends. And I'm like, why don't you tell her that?
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know how like I would feel honored if someone's like, you are really cool. Do you want to be? I'd be like, heck yeah, I want to be friends. Yeah. I'm like, she's probably thinking that about you. I'm like, literally, if you already feel the vibes, I'm like, she's thinking it too. So I'm like, you just got to put yourself out there.
And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, there's so many people.
Exactly. And you're going to find that like, you'll find your group of core people. But I feel like I'm finally getting to a place where I'm like comfortable putting feelers out there and being like, hey, like we should do a girls' night, or like let's do this. Like this last couple years, like after meeting you and meeting like other friends that you knew, because that's how I met a lot of people here that are like my friends now, is really through you, which was awesome. But I'm just like, you know, you gotta, and then take it and further those relationships yourself, because like obviously like it's okay to be friends with someone just because they're friends with someone else, but like if you do feel like, oh hey, me and that person really hit it off, I don't think there's anything wrong with being friends with your friend's friend. Like that's kind of cool, right? That you're all
like,
close.
You should want like your whole circle just to know each other. I think that's so special, because that's when the trips come in and you're like, let's go.
Exactly.
Girls trip.
Exactly. But I also think too, like just, you know, meeting through people through work and through different groups. Nicole runs a really cool page called For the Boise Girls. Yeah. And I've met a lot of really cool girls here through that. Like, cause you host these little events and it's like so fun that everyone gets to show up, and I've never met some of these people. And so I'm like, this is cool. Yeah. So attending things like that, there's literally like a date, or it's like meetup or something. I forget what it's called. My sisters did it when we first moved to Idaho. They went to like a painting day, and it was like girls only meetup, and like some app, I don't know, but anyway, and they met people through that. And I just think like it's finding people that have common interests with you.
It's so nice.
If you're at the gym and you see a girl that you're like, I want to be her, like just put yourself out there.
Yeah. I know the gym might be like harder, but I would be so intimidated.
I wouldn't do it, but like I'm talking about my gym girls that are like, you know what you're doing. Then like, you know,
if you're comfortable, just reach out. Yeah. But I love planning those monthly girl events. I feel like if you're in Boise, please come to one of the events. It is so fun because you meet so many different girls, and everyone has different occupations. So it's like really cool to meet so many people from other
different industries.
And like a lot of girls have moved here from California, Washington, other states, and so it's really cool to all come together, do something that you love to do. A lot of times I'll have like painting nights, just fun like girly movie nights, and so he's like, please look at me. But it's super fun. So just finding events like around you. If you're not in Boise, there's a lot of other states that do monthly meetups, and so,
or if they don't, you can always host them too.
You can always create them.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can be the one that puts it out there, and it's like, hey, and you know what? I think we always just let self-doubt get in the way of so many things we want to do in life. We just convince ourselves it's not going to work out, and all the worst things are going to come true. And you know what? They might, and that sucks, and whatever. But you'll get up, because you have to remind yourself, how much have you already accomplished? How much have you already done? Like, what are the hard things you've already been through? So much, I'm sure. You're going to get through this next thing too. So it's like just putting your one foot in front of the other until you figure it out, you know?
And when you plan something and maybe you're nervous, oh, no one's going to come. So what if like 2 people show up? That's great.
That's
like
2 new people that you didn't know.
That you're going to talk to, that you're going to relate to. And so, you know, just keep doing it. Do what you're scared of, and like just go out and meet people. And we're always open too.
Absolutely.
We're always here.
You know what? I'm loving that trend on TikTok where it's like, I feel everything so deeply, and it's like a black and white. And then it's like, I feel everything so deeply. It's happy. It's perception. It's like how we choose to look at our situations. You can look at it and like, oh my God, nobody came, only 2 people. And you can be so negative about it and be so hurt and be so down. Or you could be like, holy heck, 2 freaking people, 2 strangers showed up.
It's so true.
And decided to like bet on me and be there and like whatever.
It's like you like, oh, moving to a new city, like, you know, is away from other family and friends. But you're like, oh, moving to a new city, new experiences, new friends.
Exactly.
It's like,
I was like bittersweet to move, obviously, was so sad to leave my friends and like so sad to leave some of my family. But like Isaac and I were just like, we're ready. Like we were so excited to move to a new place and find new people and just like new life. We were just at a place where we were like, oh, you know, I didn't want to be there anymore, especially growing up in the same place. I was just like, okay, I'm done. But like, you know, it's just life's what you make it. Yeah. So let's make it rock. Hannah Montana said it right. Hannah Montana?
Let's make it rock.
Or Miley Cyrus. No, Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana. I'm thinking.
So
love that girl.
So anyway, this was our little friendships episode. Yeah. I feel like if you are struggling, with a friendship, just talk to your person. That's like the best way to clear the air, is just come at them with love and honesty and kindness, and just be like, hey, this is where I'm at. And if they don't understand and they come at you and they're super rough, maybe it's just time to cut somebody out of your life, as hard as it is.
Yeah.
But if it's like, you got to protect your peace. So
it's
up to you. If you want to deal with it for the rest of your life because you don't want to make them feel bad, even though you're making you feel bad, then okay, that's your decision.
And cutting a toxic person out of your life is just going to be that weight lifted off your shoulders.
Seriously.
Like, you're going to feel so much better, even though it's the hardest thing to do. But you want your inner circle, the people you hang around with, you want them to lift you up. You want them to support, encourage you. Give good advice, be a good listener.
Cherish
you want those people around you.
Excited that you're around, like, not people who just like put up with you because you're there. Like, no.
Because isn't there that saying where it's like who you surround yourself with, or like the top 5 people that you surround yourself with,
that's who you become.
That's who you're like, who you become. So so important to have uplifting people around you and in your inner circle.
Absolutely.
But just sharing some advice about friendships, and
because we all go through stuff, and it's important to know that you have people to lean on. So our DMs are always open over on Instagram at Coffee with Your Besties.
So excited. Also, please subscribe to us on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And follow and like our episodes on Spotify and Apple Music. We'll be here every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
9 a.m., guys.
We're so excited.
Cheers, guys.
Okay. Bye.